Welcome to Season 3 of the Craft Beer Connoisseurs Podcast. I'm Brett. If you're new to the podcast, we are three friends and a producer who like to showcase craft breweries and their beers. Also, we like to end every episode with a short conversation on a variety of different topics. If you're not new to the podcast, well, you know what to expect. The three connoisseurs haven't changed, and the producers are always a wild card. Whether you're new or returning, please feel free to listen to all of our previous content. And remember to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untapped, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also, drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Now, for today's episode. Welcome to the Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I am Brett.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Tyler, and along with us is a new producer, of course, Producer Triston.
Oh,
hey,
welcome, Triston.
Oh, wow.
clap.
A clap
Yeah,
for
for
Triston?
Yeah, he's way better than producer Paul.
Oh, wow. Oh, the
shade.
old in with the Triston.
Yes.
All right. Well, in today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Slake Brewing, which is in Picton, Ontario.
Wait a second. We've had Picton before, have we
We
not?
have been to Picton in the county, Prince Edward County. It was actually Picton had our number one brewery last year.
There you go.
You mean Prince Eddie's?
Prince Eddie's. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And by last year, you mean last season.
That's exactly right.
So, again, we're going to be having two beers today. The first one is Mosey, which is a German Pilsner. And the second is Darren the One-Eyed Cat, which is listed as a barrel-aged grape ale. Wow.
That should be
That's interesting. I
That's
like that.
definitely the first grape ale we've probably had on the podcast for sure.
Totally.
And maybe in our life. Anyway, to finish up the episode, we're going to talk about our dream brewery and how would we design it. And we're back, and quite honestly, I'm very surprised we're back. I thought producer Triston was going to walk out.
Oh, my gosh.
Goodness gracious.
You know,
And
prima donna.
I
You
know,
get some of
right?
these guys that you don't even pay. They think you should be paying them.
thinks
I
he
know.
runs the show.
Holy
My goodness.
Moses.
Anyway, we are going to talk about Slake. Okay?
We are.
Yes.
Now's a good time.
It's a great time. So Slake is located at 181 Mowbray Way in Picton, actually just a few minutes outside of Picton, on a gravel road where all the beer is created and brewed on a small farm that's built into a limestone hill. Hence the name of the episode, on
Yes.
a limestone hill. Now,
So forward thinking,
right? It's almost like it happened. Now, producer Triston has been to Slake,
He has.
and he calls it the best view from a brewery in Ontario.
Wow.
And we've had a couple breweries on the podcast that have some great views. And he calls it the best.
Those are high standards.
I think so.
So the brewery farmland itself is owned by Greg Landucci, and it's operated in partnership with Eric Portelance and head brewer Eric Bobus. So Eric squared.
Great math.
Yeah.
Good job.
So Greg and Eric Portelance, if you remember from our episode on Halo, they were the ones who actually formed Halo and then sold their stake in it to open a brewery in Prince Edward County, which is now Slake.
There you go. So the brewery was intended to actually be open in the fall of 2019, but were not able to make their first batch of beer until July of 2020, right smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. And
Yeah.
we've discussed it with other breweries. It was a trying time for sure.
Kind of threw off the business plan a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But customers started to be welcomed in the middle of October of 2020. So that's where we're at. Now we've got some notes down here, as we've been discussing from our producer.
And when was Triston there? I think he was there summer of 2021.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So he went during COVID. So the inside of the brewery is pretty empty. However, they have a huge glass wall overlooking the limestone hill. And we're able to walk out on the limestone hill to watch the sunset. Oh, how romantic.
Aww.
If I recall correctly from Tristan's Untapped, I believe he had a beer called something about sunset, and he took it during the sunset.
It's almost like he planned that.
Yeah.
Just an
You
absolute,
think that would have been a great place for him to get down on one knee and propose?
a hopeless romantic.
Yeah, he didn't.
Missed opportunity.
He chose to do it somewhere else. Anyway, so outside they have a large picnic table as well as large rocks to sit on to watch the sunset. And we're going to put those on our Instagram for you guys
Absolutely.
to see and hopefully maybe get you guys up to Prince Edward County and to go to Slake.
And also to Prince Eddie's.
Yes.
There you go.
And Picton Brewing too.
Yeah. And the other, what, 10,
just
10
hit 'em-
breweries
hit
or
'em all
something?
up while you're
Yeah.
up there. Absolutely. So Slake is focused on using exclusively Ontario malt and to reduce the carbon footprint. So the spent grains are distributed amongst farms on Mowbray Road.
Mowbray Road.
So we have some experience kind of dealing with spent grains.
We do?
Brewing some beer. So we definitely understand that. And, also with our, maybe a little teaser on Triston's producer special, but we learned, sometimes it might be not good for the farm animals to give them spent grains. You got to kind of mix it in with their regular feed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
Also, they make clean, balanced drinking ales and lagers, along with mixed fermentation beers from their barrel cellar program. So they've got some barrel aged stuff, which we're, I believe, going to try today, and also some, just clean lagers, which we're also going to try today.
I think we're going to have one from this section, one from that section.
Exactly.
It's good that they were able to send us one of each to kind of get their styles down.
For sure. Now, the actual inside of the brewery itself is a modern-looking building that has big, massive windows, which would make sense. It'd kind of play to the, the aesthetic of the outdoors.
Yeah, you wouldn't want just a brick wall there blocking that view.
Right.
No.
You definitely want those spectacular views, which is overlooking, again, the sunset, which would be, enjoying a super sunset, which is what Producer Triston had.
Or maybe a slow.
Maybe.
Oh.
You get to enjoy the views of the county, Prince Edward County.
How does it get the whole, the county?
They
went
ahead. It was, it's their slogan that they made.
That's some sort of licensing thing that you were...
No, it stuck with them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. In terms of Untappd, their average rating, they've had 26 beers created, and their average is 3.79 with over 9,000 check-ins.
That's pretty good for...
I'd say so.
For what, a year, 2 years, basically? Yeah.
Exactly.
Not bad.
So in terms of beers that we've had, okay, Producer, obviously, he's the only one who's been there. He has had 3. Do not know why he didn't bring back some for us, but that is something we'll have to take up with him offline. If he doesn't make it to beer 1, we punched him out. So he had 3 beers. Again, Super Sunset, the Slow, he both rated a 4, and the Cherry Valley was a 3. I have had 1. I had Hatch. I believe I got it from the Old Galt Bottle Shop, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
And I have as 3.75. And Tyler and Chris, a bit of donuts. And that's not talking about the flavor of beer.
Yeah,
that's just talking about the amount of beers you've had from Slake.
This is, my 3rd or 4th in a row, I think, where I've had...
I'm pretty sure it's almost been all season.
Definitely, this is our 3rd episode of the season featuring a brewery. Obviously, we have Paris Beer Fest.
The one. So this is 3 for 3. I'm christening it, if you will.
Yes.
Wow.
By not having any. And I love that. I'm super excited about the way that this has started season 3.
Yes, and I have had 0 beers from Slake before today. And I know I did mention on our first episode featuring Falcon that I wasn't going to have any episodes where I had 0 before this season.
And here we are.
But alas,
what are we?
This is what it is.
Just under 20% of the way through, I guess, and you've already got the donut.
Yeah, it's a quarter of the way through.
Chris, though, you gave a valiant effort.
Not bad.
I did.
The old college try, if you will.
Yep.
You didn't succeed. And if you ain't first, you're last.
It's true.
Well, I guess I'm last.
There you
This
go.
is correct. So in terms of food that they have there, food trucks are brought in most weekends, as with a lot of breweries. With some, also they do have some food menu items. Just one of them being Montreal-style all-dressed hot dogs.
Oh.
All right. I don't know what's the difference between a Montreal-style hot dog and a Toronto-style hot dog. Or
It probably has the Montreal smoked meat.
Smoked meat.
I'd hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I just got a batch of Montreal smoked meat, and it's phenomenal.
Oh, I love Montreal smoked meat.
God, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It is.
Now,
Oh, boy.
Slake offers an Ontario-wide flat rate of shipping, which is $10.
Speaking of good stuff, right there.
That is good
So
stuff.
before this episode, I should have placed an order, paid the $10.
I would have split it with you.
Well, there you go, and then
We
we
could
could
have got
have
out
both
of
had
this.
zeros.
We could have got out of this.
You could have had more beers than all of us. Oh, mistakes were made.
What were we thinking?
But
I guess we
instead,
weren't.
you're just like, no.
That's okay. I'll take my zeros.
I've heard Tyler's got to finish some stouts from last year.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not for the best in terms of him filling up his beer fridge with more beer.
There you go. Chris, now what are the hours of the brewery?
Yeah, so if you're in the county and you're doing a little brewery hopping, you can hit Slake from Monday to Friday from 12 to 8:30, Saturday to Sunday a little earlier, 11 to 8:30. But that 8:30 will get you especially this time of year, perfect sunset.
Sure.
It dwindles down as the sunset comes.
As the beer does as well.
Now, if you're there in June or July, you might want to stay there later than 8:30 to get the sunset. But
I hope they're not kicking you out at 8:30.
I bet they are.
Yeah. I mean, have your beer and sit outside.
They kick you right down that limestone hill.
There you go.
All right. Well, as always, we're going to link to their information on our social media.
All right. Well, let's climb up the hill, boys, and have beer number 1. A big shout out and thank you to Eric from Slake for sending us the beers that we're having on today's episode.
Definitely. Thank you.
Now, we should probably talk about the first beer.
Let's do it.
All right. So the first beer we're having today is Mosey, which is a German Pilsner, 4.8% ABV, and the IBUs are unlisted.
All right. So this is apparently going to go down crisp and easy. That is made with 100% Ontario malt, which we've talked about earlier on. They try to get all 100% Ontario malts for all their beers. From Barn Owl, it will have apparently a light straw and bready flavor with a hint of sweetness that finishes with an appropriate bitterness. The appropriateness will be judged upon ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Correct.
So this beer that we're having today, the specific one, and every single batch is lagered for 6 weeks and then carbonated naturally to give it those nice bubbles.
All right.
So let me just see how this pours, and we'll get there in a minute. In terms of Untapped, you can follow us at Craft Beer Connoisseurs and on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons. Trust me, do it. Mosey has 766 check-ins with an average rating of 3.68 out of 5. The can has 572 of those 766 check-ins at 3.68. Math adds up.
Yep.
And there's only one 5 out of 5. And before we segue on to Tyler, just talking about the can a little bit.
Do you want to save that? Let me open it up, and then you can talk about the can.
Yeah, you know what?
The producer actually put it in the right spot where you're supposed to do
I
it.
thought he left.
Like literally says, Fife, talk about the can here, which is after the segment in which I go now.
Yeah, but I thought he left.
No, Tristan's still here.
Oh my
Tristan's
God.
just hanging
What
there.
kind of stuff do we put in the contract when they come back?
So here we go. Ready? I'm going to do this. Then you can go ahead and talk about that.
Oh, and Chris is going to talk about his glass.
Yeah, you got
I
it.
see what's happening here. Okay.
All right, grab your glass, grab your can, and let's open her up.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the can here.
Okay, you talk while I pour.
Yes, the can entails, I believe, is Mosey like a kind of flower, perhaps? No? Nothing? Okay.
No.
It's almost like a nice little beige with a couple of just, basic, simple to the point designs in terms of some colorful dots. And then telling you that it's pills, crisp, easy, to the point. Nothing, pretty simple, but sometimes simple is good. Chris, this is your part. Talk about the glassware.
Yes, thank you. You go ahead and open yours up, Brett.
I will.
So we are drinking this out of a Pilsner glass because it's a Pilsner. So make sure to use your proper glassware.
So just for your benefit, Brett, I feel like this is the appropriate time to say it. Mosey is kind of by definition about more like a slow saunter, taking your time with a walk, right?
Yeah.
And if I do recall from Even Stevens, there was a joke that they said that you're
go.
so old that instead of the walk sign, it said Mosey, don't Mosey.
Yes.
If you do recall that episode.
I do recall that episode. I believe that was about
did not
their,
have Even Stevens references on my bingo card today.
that was about their teacher, I think.
It was about the teacher
Yeah.
said, you're so old, your social security number's 1. I don't know why those jokes stuck with my head, but they really
The
did.
things that stay with you
I
for
just
what,
remember
20
the
plus
Even
years?
Stevens movie
Yeah.
being absolutely terrible.
Never saw it.
I think I
Disney
did
Plus,
see
my
it.
friend.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. But so that's what Mosey means, just so you and everybody at home who did not know.
There you go. Shia LaBeouf. Got to
Shia
start.
LaBeouf. What do we got here, guys? You want to talk about maybe some of this fluffy head?
Yeah, this is a beautiful fluffy head. I poured
Almost some
mine.
would call it that pillowy head, right?
Yeah, pillowy, absolutely. I poured mine pretty thick. It's a good, probably was 3 or 4 fingers. Now it's down to 2, so
Nice.
dissipating rather quickly. But in terms of the actual beer that I see, definitely some clearness to it. Like you can pretty well see through it.
Yeah, I'd say so.
As you would
translucent.
expect from a Pilsner. And I see that carbonation that they mentioned. They said it was naturally carbonated, and I can see those few of those bubbles kind of floating up.
Yeah, you love to see your bubbles in your beer. That's for sure.
Definitely.
All right. I don't know what Tyler's doing over the glass over there, but some sort of
I think he's
stroking going
cleaning
on.
the condensation
off, so that way I can get kind of a better viewpoint of it, right? So again, leading to some of that translucency, which you were talking about earlier on, so you can see your hand on the other side, which is nice. Again, a nice, I don't know, Honey Crisp kind of look to it.
Crisp, yes.
Yeah.
How about something I haven't had in a while? Honey Crisp.
There you go. Even Stevens and Honey Crisp.
Probably like a little bit lighter than honey, like a straw color, I think.
A nice Allen's apple juice.
Okay.
You know?
What about Simply Apple? Nah, that's too thick. It's hazy.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, what do you guys smell on this one?
Yeah, what are we getting?
I'm getting like just the classic kind of Pilsner smell that I would
Pilsner
expect.
Vibe. I think that's kind of what they're going for here. It's just a classic Pilsner, easy drinking. If somebody's coming in the brewery and saying, "What's that closest thing you got to a Bud Light?" We got Mosey. Mosey on over here to have it.
There you go.
So this is we'll tell everyone we're drinking this out of a 355 milliliter can rather than a tall boy. But I think that combined with the fact that it's a Pilsner, I think this is going to go down really nicely.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, should we maybe I don't know, start drinking it?
Put it down? Yeah. Let's do it.
Good call, Chris.
You put it down while I'll pick it up. How about that? Let me know what your initial thoughts are, Chris and Brett, and then I'll get sipping it a little bit. A lot of lip smacking going on, but not a lot of conversation.
Definitely clean. It's just got something I can't really put my finger on it right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of
earthy.
Yeah, a little bit. That's
Right,
kind of what
floral?
I was thinking. Yeah, maybe floral, which is what Triston is. Little
Triston.
Triston. I go in a little accent there.
Oh my goodness! Did he pay you extra for that? Did we just become like a luxury podcast?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Triston.
Triston.
And then we're having this Mosey.
Anyways,
Triston.
Triston put that floral there, which I think is a good description. So is earthy, but yeah, definitely like you're getting that crisp Pilsner taste that you would expect.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting the same sort of thing. Is it's a real down to earth kind of beer. You go back to what Brett said is like this is one that would replace some of those traditional 3 or 5 brewery kind of beers. Yep. This is one of those that I think you could have several of them, enjoy them, but it does have like a unique flavor profile to it, which is a little bit different than like a general Pilsner, right? So again, a little bit more of the earthy undertones. But yeah, we'll get to the flavor profiles when we're there, and I'll kind of break it out a bit more.
Yeah, I think that kind of earthiness sits there for a little bit on the back end too.
Yes.
So at first I'm getting like that crispness from traditional Pilsner crispness, and then it just kind of turns into that earthiness and just sits in your mouth for a little bit.
It's one of those things that it's got that like a little bit of breadiness too.
Yeah.
But more so it's got that taste that lingers for like you taste it, put it down, 30 seconds later you're still tasting the beer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's more so where I'm at. Top 5 characteristic profiles, because I'm going to be big on saying that instead of flavors now. So number 1, crisp.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's pretty crisp. Yeah,
that's what I'm getting right off the hop.
Number 2, clean.
Yeah, it's clean, but like because that aftertaste kind of lingers for a while, I don't know that it necessarily goes down clean.
Okay,
so does that make sense?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is essentially the swallow or the sip that you're having is clean throughout, except for it just doesn't finish well.
Doesn't have that mouth feel that you're looking for.
No, I think it's just the finish of it.
Yeah.
The finish, it doesn't fire itself out.
It finishes
it
long.
sits there. Yeah, it's a very, very kind of laborious kind of finish on it.
It moseys.
Yes.
There you
go. Maybe that's where they came
There
up
it is.
Yes, there you are. Number 3, grassy.
Yeah. I'm getting earthy undertones. Triston. Just cutting out myself. Tristan's getting more of a floral kind of aspect, maybe perhaps.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bit of a distinguishing factor there between like a floral and a grassy, earthy, right?
Yes.
And I think somewhere maybe in between is what Tristan's kind of thinking
I'm
on
more
that.
so like below the grass in terms of like soil.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where it comes from,
Yeah,
right? It's like there's a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
Maybe Tristan can clarify if it is more floral or if it is very more earthy. What's Tristan getting
What's he
here?
thinking? We'll see. Number
whoa,
4.
Oh, earthy. Earthy.
What?
Just putting possibilities.
Possible.
Okay, well, that's good.
Alternatives.
Okay, yep.
That's good. That's good that you're giving us lots of choice. Tristan. Number 4, bitter.
Yeah, it does have bitterness.
Yes, I agree with that.
And Tristan
This is a good point. This is a good
is
point.
saying on the finish,
Yeah.
it's bitter. I would agree.
Yeah, for sure.
And number 5, malty.
Yeah, I think a lot of the flavors in which we're getting are malt forward. I think it's
And come from the malts.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's where we're kind of sitting at is we're using some very light malts that are giving it a little bit of that breadiness, a little bit of that earthy tone. Maybe I would actually flip that around and say maybe it's more of an earthy tone and like a bready kind of undertone to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Tristan saying maybe refreshing, crushable. I mentioned at the beginning I thought it might be really easy to go down, and it does go down easy. But I was thinking it might be more crushable than it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you
And-
say it's light, though? I think that's another characteristic we put in there is light.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
it's just again some of those flavors that we are getting is the earthiness. Whether it's like I don't want to say like a graham cracker, but like a thin wafer almost, like a very breadiness to it. Right?
So not thinking that
Yeah.
malty belongs in the top 5, would you say?
No, I'm just trying to give a little bit more of a deeper dive into the maltiness instead of, and we talk about this in our Prude Home and our certification for that is just instead of just giving it one kind of terminology, is going a little bit more in depth and peeling back some of those layers of what that maltiness actually is. Instead of just saying it's yellow, what does that yellow look like, right? So
For sure.
just want to kind of peel back some of those layers there, and if you guys have any
I'm
more,
glad that you've peeled back the layers.
Good.
Of that. Chris, anything else before you move on to an untapped user thought that you have the first one for?
No, I'll just jump right into that. So the first one comes from Mike D, Beer Brit _MTL. So I think Montreal.
In British, perhaps?
Yeah, there you go, is Mike's handle. On August 3rd, stated bready and sweet but crisp, great head, and mouthfeel too. Mike gave it a 4.25 out of 5, and Mike purchased it from Dominion City Brewing, which is in Ottawa.
And as I mentioned with Slake there, you can find a lot of them at the bottle shops. We'll go bottle shop in the city, Sidewalk Bottle Shop, all those. And don't be worried to support your local bottle shops by any stretch of the imagination.
Totally.
Sorry, I got you mid-mouthful.
you did mid sip, if you will.
Yeah.
The next one I have is Gabe, and the handle is GBZEE on July 4th. Said,
GBZ.
Yep. Clean and fresh, solid grassy to bitter ratio, crisp peppery cracker finish, solid go-to crispy option. And then also rated a 4 out of 5, so in that 4 area, similar to
Is
the
anybody getting
Beer
that
Brit
peppery now that it's brought up?
Not peppery, but like cracker,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, and I could see that. I think that's what we were kind of alluding to earlier on, right? He's
Almost
like
like a Triscuit for Tristan.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, well, I'll just stop my sentence and move on to my rating. So I'm going to give this one a 3.25.
I was a little unsure where I'm going to go. I'm going to you persuaded me, Tyler. I'm going to go 3.25 also.
Yes.
I don't know if I persuade you in the right or the wrong, but I'm glad I persuaded
It
you.
was between that or 3, so
Okay.
you persuaded
went
me up.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I was kind of toying between a 3 and a 3.25. I think I'm going to lean more. If I had the on premium, I'd go like a 3.2. So that's going to have obviously run up for me to 3.25.
All right.
What about
And,
Tristan?
Tristan, he's a little bit lower than me, both on the podcast scale and the rating. I'm kidding. He gave it a 3.
All right, so that's going to give us a overall of 3.1875, and we are going to round that up to a 3.25.
There you go. And Brett, you want to finish my sentence, or
Yeah, you start.
let's go on to beer
number 2.
Yeah. All right, we are back with our second beer, which is called Darren, the One-Eyed Cat. Sounds like a good producer name.
I didn't see that coming.
No.
So this one comes in at 8.2% ABV. And again, IBUs are unlisted.
Nice. So this is a blend or a hybrid, if you will.
Hybrid and you.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a hybrid vehicle. If you will. So it's 700 liters of Niagara growing Malbec juice mixed. So the Malbec is a grape that's used in wines, mixed with a 1 year barrel aged beer from their cellar.
Nice.
Right? So this is super slackable. Slakeable, so okay, sure. Slightly tart and pops of sweet cherry, raspberry, and berry. Not a typo.
That's what they say.
There you go.
Berry.
It's not a typo, I swear.
The beer is bottle conditioned, naturally carbonated, which we've seen before.
Yep.
And again, made with 100% all Ontario ingredients. And note, it from our producer is it's currently available at Beertown in London.
Yes.
There you go. Maybe some of the other Beertown locations too.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll see. So the name of the beer comes from their barn cat. He came to them as a kitten, left, saw the view, and came back with only one eye.
Oof.
Oh,
And-
Scrappy.
But is a very, very sweet boy.
interesting.
Yes.
All right.
I don't want to say that.
Won't give my opinion on cats. So on Untapped for this beer, there are 71 check-ins with an average rating of 3.86 bottle caps out of 5. Out of those 71, 5 out of 5s. And 39 at a bottle, which we are having right now.
As you can hear almost from old clicky clank over
Yeah,
here.
Brett's getting ready to open his with a 3.85 average on the bottle, and Draft 23 with a 4.05.
This would be very interesting off a draft. Now, we haven't had it yet, but I feel like because of what it is, I feel like this would be a really good a beer off the draft.
And also, I'm just getting excited because we haven't had a bottle on the podcast in a while.
That's
has been
true.
a while.
Yeah.
Upper Thames, maybe? Was that the last one?
Yeah, that was like a year ago.
I know, so long ago. Anyway, Tyler.
You good?
Yep.
All right, grab your Wait a second. Grab your bottle, grab your glass, and let's open her up. Ooh, well done. There we go. All right, so we're going to be pouring this one here shortly. And Chris, if you want to go into a little bit of a description of what we're having this out of.
Yeah, exactly. So we are drinking this out of a chalice or a tulip glass. So make sure to use your proper glassware.
Okay, watch the fruit flies, boys. There's a
Yes.
couple flying around, and
They like their grapes.
itching to get us.
Apparently, some carrots were left.
There was some carrots that were left behind.
Oh, you're doing like 3-finger depth in there.
I had to get one out.
Yeah, well,
little
there you
fruit
go.
fly was sucking up some of my
Now,
beer.
some would call that an adjunct to the beer.
They would.
Not a good adjunct, but
No, not at all.
so on the visual, I guess, on the eyes, this has a very, very red wine look to it, with the exception of, not a big head, but a head, which you're not going to
I'm
get,
definitely
obviously, in
assuming
wine.
that the Malbec juice is red from a red grape, not a white grape.
Yes,
a red
Malbec
grape.
is a red wine.
There you go. A red grape.
I'm not a wine connoisseur out there, folks.
Hey,
just
that's
FYI.
okay. That's okay.
I probably had maybe one full bottle of wine in my life, and it was at my wedding.
Wow. Not bad.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about what it looks like. What do you guys get? A little smell? What do you
Oh,
get?
I'm assuming it's going to be grape.
You get the barrel.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah, you get the
a
barrel
little
too,
bit
yeah.
of the woodiness from it. And so that's what we find with some of this stuff too is, again, what does that smell like? What's that taste like? Are you going to be picking up a lot of the wood, whether it's oak or whatever, barrel that they use?
Some barnwood.
Which we don't know what type of barrel they use.
No, we do not.
We don't.
But yeah, we mentioned at the beginning that they have kind of two types of styles of beer. They're, kind of regular, and then they're barrel aged. So this is obviously coming from the barrel age.
They sent us one of both. Good on them.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, when you go to have this, you have to keep perspective, right? You
Yes.
know it's going to be grape. You know it's going to be a little bit wine. You know it's going to have some woodiness to it. So again, set yourself up in a situation where
I do wonder how tart this is going to be.
yeah, it may be. The only way to find out, though,
Oh.
Is
How do
to
we
drink
define
it.
that? Good call.
there it is.
Right.
All right, I'm going to actually drink this one. Why don't you guys chit chat a little bit while we get into it?
Yeah, you guys go ahead. I'm going to tell everyone about this bottle. Usually Brett's talking about the bottle or the can, but the label on this beer has a cat, as you might expect, with an X through its right eye. So obviously signifying that it is missing one eye.
And his left one eye is his good eye.
That's right. Kind of like me.
Oh, I didn't know you had one eye.
No, I don't. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
I was like, I haven't seen an eye patch on you, so you've been decoying me the whole time?
I've got 2 great eyes.
Patches over.
20/20 vision, some would say.
So what do you guys tasting?
A lot of grape.
Yeah, it's grape forward. You know what? For sitting in a barrel for a period of time, is that woodiness actually isn't coming forward, and we see this with other types of beers, not just necessarily grape ales, but other barrel aged sours, perhaps, where you get more of a wood forward. It's not to say that it's not present, because it certainly is, but it's not overly woody. First sips here. Chris, you talked about the glassware, right?
Yes.
And what kind of glassware we're using?
Yes.
And so this kind of glassware obviously lends itself to being more open mouth. And you find with a normal red wine, you want a bit more of an open mouth, so that way it can aerate.
Yeah.
And I think that doing justice to this beer would be the same sort of process that you would have with a red wine. Is make sure that you are swirling it, make sure you're getting some of that that airiness into the beer.
Yeah, we should have put a aerator
Right?
with this
That's how
beer.
we should have poured it.
Yeah, we should have.
Gosh, put it in the bottle.
But I will say this is distinctly different from a wine, obviously,
Yes.
because it's a beer. And one of those distinguishing differences is the carbonation. This is pretty heavily carbonated, actually, which I know
Naturally.
they said, was natural. So that definitely brings in that beer flavor, but like super heavy on the grape, which you would expect, almost like it's almost like an alcoholic Welch's grape juice. Yeah.
Yes. Now,
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I really
question.
was, yeah.
you said about something about like aeration and pouring out of the bottle.
Yeah.
I believe it. I'm pretty sure you poured this out of the bottle.
No, so what you can do with red wines is there's a thing like it's an aerator, and you put that on the bottle.
Yeah.
So when you pour it out, it pours out instead of just pouring straight from a bottle, as it aerates.
Basically,
the beer
you
as well.
want you want the oxygen to go through the wine, so the
almost
aerator
like
will
if
do
I can
that.
do a comparison here, like a physics when it comes to beer, right?
Kind
Sure,
of, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it could be very similar to it, but yeah, there's.
I mean, obviously that's more like not CO2 and stuff like that, but yeah, I get your point.
yeah,
I see where you're going with it.
It's almost like I don't know, like a sap tap for a tree.
Gotcha.
Just the way that it
Okay.
looks, just for visual kind of reference.
There you go. That's how much I know about wine.
There you go.
I learned more.
Yeah, so it's good to kind of move it around a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
Do we want to get into the flavor profiles now then?
Yeah.
Chris, do you want to do these ones?
Quite, sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Do believe.
So
Such distinguished young men.
the first one, not surprisingly, is grapes.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, heavy
I
on the
agree with
grapes.
that.
Number 2 is tart. There definitely is some tartness to it.
Yeah,
now
I
it's
think
not
so.
it's not labeled as a sour ale, but oftentimes when you get that barrel aged, unless it's a stout, oftentimes a lot of the sourness comes through.
Barrel and grape kind of tell you there's going to be some tartness to it,
Yeah.
right?
And I think that's just it. The aging of the grape is going to lend itself to some tartness. Now, I'm just going to kind of pause on the flavor profiles. I know I said start them, but just a little pause here.
Okay.
Looking at the beer now, you do see some of them, the adjuncts of it, some dissipation of whether it's the grape or the barrel in it. But I do think that's probably more grape based. Whether you guys see it or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I see it kind of floating down to the bottom of the
Yeah,
glass
some
here.
more adjuncts in it, which is nice. So make sure, again, as you're aerating it and swirling around a little bit, you're going to move some of those adjuncts so they don't settle at the bottom. So you get more of a wholesome flavor profile throughout.
Yeah, totally. So number 3 on flavor profiles is red wine.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really had much of red wine. This is
Yeah.
probably the most red wine I've had. So
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
And then number 4 and 5 are a couple of fruits. So number 4 is raspberry, which I'm not really picking up personally.
no raspberry there.
And number 5 is the acai, which I do not even know what that tastes like. So maybe, but
I'm not getting it.
yeah,
I've had it before.
you've been to Asia, so
I was going to say it. But a little bit of the raspberry I am getting, more so
Okay.
than the acai. But because the grape is overpowering,
yeah.
if you let the flavor kind of settle out, I think you get more of that grape on the back end.
Yeah, so...
raspberry on the back end.
Right. So Triston is saying maybe oaky, barrel-aged, sour, woody, cherry. He's got a whole bunch. Cherry-flavored cough syrup. I don't think that's a flavor profile on Untappd, but...
Well, we can make it one.
Maybe. I don't know about the cough syrup personally, but definitely woody and barrel-aged, I think. I'm getting a tiny bit of cherry.
Yeah, I recently had my father-in-law made a brisket this weekend, and I think that this would be really nice with a brisket. Just a lovely kind of
and who doesn't
dinner.
like brisket?
Yeah,
Nice.
put that on at 9 a.m. and have it at 8 at night. But yeah, I think that this is a really good beer for like a red meat as well. So I do get some of the oakiness or the barrel age, so I get that from Producer. So let's see what some Untappd users think. Brett, what do you think?
This first one's from JT, and his handle is Nader Guy. On July 30th, I feel as though this almost, like, Chris, you're right ahead in terms of what you said earlier.
Yeah?
So on July 30th said, fizzy Welch's for grown-ups.
Oh, there you go.
Boozy, but deliciously smooth, great brew, 4.5 out of 5. Now, we maybe should have planned ahead and had a bottle of Welch's grape juice today. And just kind of compared the two and see kind of where we're at.
A blind taste test?
Yeah, blind taste test.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, me and JT are on the same
Yes,
wavelength.
exactly. Chris.
So the next one comes from Tyler W.
Don't let me down, Tyler.
Yeah, great name, right? Yeah.
I didn't say that, but I'm glad that you think so.
I knew you were going to.
I didn't say it.
You were thinking it.
Like you with Tyler from Wishbone. It's like, yeah, great name. Great name to you too, man.
Great guy.
Yeah. So Tyler's handle is Waterman TE, tight end maybe, on June 26th said, acidic, wine-forward, Malbec all the way, lots of sour berry notes, and great finish. And Tyler gave it a 4 out of 5. Interesting. So I've had a few beers that have had wine or grape juice used in them, and I haven't been a huge fan. This one I think is well done, but it's just not necessarily my style. So I'm going to give it a 3.25 out of 5.
For me, obviously, I'm kind of not on the same page with you in terms of the amount of wine hybrid beers that I've had before. This is almost, I would say, probably my first one.
Really?
Yeah, I know. What the hell?
I'm surprised.
No, seriously, like, because I'm not a wine person, and I'm not.
Yeah, I'd like you to look into it after.
It's not something that you kind of gravitate to.
I'm not seeking it out, if you
Sure,
will. So, no, I do appreciate Slake sending this to us and letting me kind of expand my horizons, if you will. See, horizon, that's sun up, not sundown. Damn it!
It's okay. It's on
right.
the horizon, the sun goes up and down. Yeah, there you go.
For what it is, I think it's probably quite well done. I'm not going to go and probably slake this out again, maybe do it that way. I'm going to give this a 3.25.
All right. Now, from myself, I'm actually going to go a little bit higher than you guys. Actually, I'd say considerably higher. I'm going to give this a 4.25. Again, it's tart. There's the grape flavor. There's a raspberry on the back end. There's an oakiness or a barrel woody taste to it, but it's not overpowering. I wish I would have had this with this weekend's dinner. And I think that changes, again, what you're kind of having it with, and it kind of elevates that experience for you. So Producer Triston's going to give it a 3.75. And Chris, what do we got here?
So that's giving us an overall of 3.625, which we're going to round up to 3.75.
I do feel, though, if I was having this watching that sunset at Slake, could have been a little higher.
Yeah,
Who
just
knows?
off the horizon.
Exactly, right? So that concludes the review of Slake and the beers that were provided for today's episode.
Nice. Next is going to be a conversation about our dream brewery.
Okay, so dreams, and Slake kind of had dream on. No. Okay,
I didn't
have
know
a
we were
dream.
singing.
Anything else you want to talk about dreams? Okay, I'm good. Anyway, so with Slake kind of having that picturesque view,
As told by Triston,
yes,
yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
It gives you time to ponder and think about what potentially could be, right?
Yes.
So I pose the question, what would be your dream brewery? Okay, so I have 3 in terms of kind of what I'm going to start with. So I'll start with location. You want it to be like farm, rural, industrial, or downtown city?
So you posed the question and then gave us parameters in which to
Bingo.
dictate.
You can by all means go outside.
I did not stick to the parameters.
That's
I did not as well.
Maybe
but it's okay.
You go ahead
I'm totally okay with that.
first, Brett.
Oh, myself?
Yeah.
See, I am thinking of a lovely brewery. If it could be possible.
It's a dream.
Okay, right? A brewery right beside my house. And I'm not saying this because in terms of, oh, that'd be awesome. I'm just saying it in terms because of the views. Okay? Because I live on a
Cornfield? What a beautiful view of all the views I can think of.
I'm saying it's almost like that sunset view that you have at Slake, because there's a great sunset view that you have. If you literally...
Minus the hill, minus the limestone.
Yeah, you got a review for a retirement home. Your grandparents live there, for God's sakes.
They do.
Anyway, so in terms of having just a nice kind of in the city, but also having that kind of farm view would be perfect.
Country in the city?
Exactly, which is where I am. I'm in the city technically, but I have a country view. Does that make sense?
Sure. It's your dream.
All right. Well, my location, I would like to be something like beachside or waterside, some form of water, because I kind of love the idea of like multiple entry points. So people coming in on land, through the water with your boat, maybe seaplaning in. That's kind of my ideal location.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I took this was a little bit different. I was thinking of more of just like a home brewery setup, and so I've got some information on that, which I think will lend itself maybe to some more of our listeners, kind of connect with them. But if I was choosing a location, I would agree with what Chris is saying, and I'd look at more the Muskoka area, which would be kind of nice, having a nice kind of cottage, as well as a brewery right on the water for those same activities, and yeah.
So Tristan's saying he wants to be at or actually a part of a baseball stadium. Interesting.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, be all right.
That would be cool.
I'm in on that. Right? He could also go to left field. I'm kidding.
That's not at a stadium.
The stadium, but
it's
very
again with
baseball
the
field.
Baseball themed, and
Yep.
lots of their different vibes of that. All right, so kind of the brewery feel. Do you want like modern, old school, or themed as brought up by producer Triston? What are we thinking?
What would you like?
Yeah, what would you? You go first.
You always play the reverse Uno card on me.
Yeah.
My goodness. So again, I'd be more of like a modern themed style. But the one thing, especially within my area, is I'd want to have it kind of like a sports bar, but not really like a sports bar in terms you want to have the TVs there to play sporting events, different events that are happening, if it's like UFC or anything like that, to bring, the masses of people who aren't craft beer drinkers in. Right?
Sure.
That would be my thing. Lots of big TVs, projectors, etc., while enjoying a nice few craft beers.
Yeah. So I wouldn't go with any particular theme per se. I would go with like super modern, like a really clean look. Almost, if you guys remember Dancing Gnome in Pittsburgh,
Yes.
like that's kind of my feel as to how
Kind of grain and grit, monochromatic.
Yeah, something like that. Like
Yep.
very, very modern. That's what I would really like in my brewery.
Do you just want to open up the same brewery?
I
theme
feel
on
like
water,
we should.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we have to at this point. So I'd be fairly similar with that. Now, if I was up in the Muskoka area, I would tie in some of the nature aspect of it. So I'd keep it very clean, crisp, but I would bring in some of the outdoors inside to make it more welcoming. Again, I have a completely different plan written down, but I'm going to just play by the rules of the game here and continue on that way.
You can go outside the rules of the game.
No, we'll get there maybe later.
I saw that you had like cost, everything, and things like that.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead.
I did like a home brewery setup, which is kind of like the dream setup. Is not necessarily a brewery outside of somewhere else. It's you know what, the ability for us to brew within ourselves in our own location. But that's okay.
Hey, I'm totally okay with that.
We'll get there. We'll get there maybe.
If that's the dream, right? So obviously Tristan's saying if he wants it at a baseball stadium, it's got to be sports themed.
It's got to
right?
be.
So, seats from old stadiums, maybe some signed photos, lots of memorabilia. He loves bobbleheads. So some bobbleheads, some jerseys, some
Nice.
equipment, lots of signed stuff. So
I think like National Stadium in Stratford, you just put a brewery right beside that. That'd be perfect.
There it is. That's the dream, baby.
Yeah, then you got a golf course right there too. You are
All
sick.
30 people.
He didn't specify what level of baseball stadium.
Inter-county, maybe?
So,
Yeah, right.
There you go.
There it is.
You're
Get
right.
the London Majors in on it.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so in terms of beers that you would need to have, so like kind of like a flight, your core 4 beers. Okay, myself, you'd have to have, again, that beer that tastes like a Bud Light or people would ask for.
Sure.
Nice lager.
Yep.
You got to have a hazy IPA. Okay, kind of that dank juice palm, if you will. A stout with some adjuncts in it. Could be cherry, could be something else.
Yep.
And then you have to have a fruited sour.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, gives you a nice little spectrum across the board.
Yep.
That's when you kind of know, you can kind of tell from the brewmaster he likes to, go out there a little bit, right?
Sure.
So
And, go ahead, Chris.
I'm pretty similar to you. So I definitely said lager. You got to have a lager there. IPA, I didn't really specify like New England or West Coast. I think whatever my brewer kind of does best, I would say would be in the core.
Because we're opening this probably together, Chris. Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
So normally I'd be more accustomed to like the New England IPAs, but I think because we're going to be up near that water, maybe that cottage feel,
Right.
I think we got to go with bring the pininess in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Little West Coast there.
Do a little West Coast.
Yeah. So then I also said a stout, but I would go less like pastry stout, like you mentioned, Brett, and just do like kind of a basic stout. Just get people in the door.
Kind of like that Black Bridge from Wishbone. Kinda
Yeah.
Taking my content, boy.
And then I said a wheat beer as well. But I also thought about my seasonals. So like in the summer, I'd want to do sours and New England IPAs. In the fall, do some dark lagers. Like in our last episode, we had our, the black lager, something like that with West Coast IPAs. In the winter, that's when I bring out the pastry stouts.
Yeah.
And then in the spring, some pale ales and then some like lighter and more kind of traditional lagers.
Tyler goes away from the camera, or microphone for a second.
Yeah.
Camera, whatever. I was just going to say, in terms, if I had kind of like seasonal things like that, I would do like, what Craft Heads does in Windsor, and kind of those like really weird one-offs.
Pickle beers?
Yeah, something like that. Like
Santa beers.
Put like a sprinkled donut in a beer and see how it goes. Like just random things like that. That'll get people in the door, right?
For sure.
Totally.
Yeah, sorry, allergy season's catching up to me
ragweed.
here. Ragweed, I'm getting a couple sneezes.
Ragweed IPA, that's the one.
Ooh, no thanks. Obviously, I think you have to have your very standard kind of lager, which is good. I think if Chris and I are doing something like this up in Muskoka area, then definitely I think the West Coast IPA is good. I think a strong, a good pale ale kind of carry it through. I love my sours, but I think that is very a seasonal kind of thing. And that could be offset by some of these stouts that you can get, which are a little bit lower in alcohol content, which are good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that that's kind of like the core 3 or 4. And then you mix in your seasonals with that. And depending on where you're at, if you're up in the Muskoka area, I'd like to see something that's done with cranberries because they've got a lot of cranberry bogs up that way in Bala and such.
Apparently, myself has a longer drive to record this podcast. You guys are moving to the Skokas.
We'll do it over the interweb.
Yeah, I was going to say, I might be zooming in for those.
You can stay the night.
Okay, fair enough. I can do that.
So Tristan saying, obviously, he's saying the same thing, like the usual, a lager, a blonde ale. That's an interesting take. IPA and a stout. So we're pretty aligned on like what 3 out of the 4.
Yeah.
And then he's saying some sours in the summer, maybe minor league experimental beers. So just kind of seasonal dependent, doing little small batch, if you
Pumpkin
will.
spices coming up.
Oh, there you go.
We all looked at producer, and obviously we know we're not going to get anything audio out of it. So that was kind of
That's why
It was kind of like a maybe look.
perhaps.
Probably not.
Perhaps. There you go.
Anybody else? Anything else? You
yeah,
wanna add
I mean,
to
I
your-
just-
I know you had a whole
yeah,
financial budget set up.
Yeah, I looked
so-
at stuff for like a home brewing system, and I think you could probably get something close to $10,000 to $12,000 to just do a home brewery, and whatever that looks like. And I do have some information on that, so if you want some of that, of kind of what I'm thinking, by all means,
You can
reach
rent
out.
it out of my garage if you want.
Yeah, I mean, just reach out to us. Let us know if you want that information, because I did a bit of research on what I would like. And again, it's not anything over the top, but $10,000 to $12,000 can get you some pretty good equipment to do some home brewing. So
I mean, if that's the dream, that's the dream, right? But I took it as like if I had unlimited budget, like kind of what would I want to do?
Yeah,
I'll leave it
same.
down to this in terms of a movie quote from Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
All right, that's going to be all for today's episode.
Thank you again for listening. Keep on listening every other Thursday as Craft Beer Connoisseurs releases a new episode, and on our off Thursdays for a producer special.
And make sure to tell your friends, family, and your favorite brewmaster.
There you go. So from all of us and producer Triston, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris, and together we're the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.